My name is Grace Mitchell. I'm 33 years old, and 6 weeks before my wedding, I learned something I should have understood much earlier. Devotion doesn't always look like love. Sometimes it looks like patience stretched too thin. Sometimes it sounds like reassurance repeated just a little too often. And sometimes it hides inside promises that quietly start turning into expectations. For 4 years, I believed Daniel Reeves and I were building something real, something steady, something grounded. The kind of relationship that didn't need to be loud to feel secure. Daniel was 31, the kind of man people trusted almost immediately, without ever questioning why. He wasn't flashy, not in the beginning, just warm, attentive, present in a way that made you feel safe. And for a long time, that was enough. I bought my townhouse years before I met him, back when my life was simpler. Long work days, quiet dinners, predictable routines. It wasn't luxury, but it was mine. Every inch of it represented something I had built for myself. So when Daniel moved in last year, it felt natural, like two lives aligning in the direction they were always meant to go. Or at least, that's what I told myself. Looking back now, I can see the shift. It didn't happen all at once. It never does. It started small. Late nights that came with vague explanations. A sudden passcode on his phone after years of leaving it unlocked. Conversations that ended with me apologizing, even when I wasn't sure what I had done wrong. "Trust me," he would say, not gently, not reassuringly, but like a conclusion, like the conversation was already over. And over time, I stopped asking questions. Not because I trusted him more, but because I got tired of feeling like I was the problem for noticing things. We had a separate account for the wedding. Deposits, vendors, attire, travel, everything ran through that one place. The balance should have been $12,764. I remember the exact number because I had checked it 3 days earlier while updating our planning spreadsheet. I had contributed $9,400. Daniel had added $3,364. It was never about keeping score. I made more. That wasn't the point. We were building a future, not balancing a ledger. Then our florist called me on a Wednesday afternoon. Her voice was hesitant. Careful. She said their last payment attempt had bounced, and she just wanted to confirm we were still moving forward. Bounced. I remember the exact moment everything inside me went still. I opened my banking app right there at my desk. The balance read $4,618. I refreshed the screen. Once. Twice. Same number. So I started scrolling. 6 withdrawals. 3 transfers. Spread across 3 weeks. Total missing, $8,146. 2 cash withdrawals, a boutique hotel charge in Raleigh, an airline ticket, a transfer to a company called TSC Media, and a dinner bill large enough to feel intentional. Not random, not careless.
Deliberate.
Daniel came home at 7:40 that night, carrying takeout, talking about centerpiece options, like our kitchen wasn't about to become a crime scene. I didn't yell. I didn't accuse. I asked one question. Where did the money go? He froze. Just for half a second. Then he smiled. That was Daniel's pattern. Never panic first. Control first. "Why are you checking the account without telling me?" he said. I didn't answer that. I just repeated the question. His posture changed. Arms crossed, leaning casually against the counter. Like this was a misunderstanding I would eventually feel embarrassed about. And then he said it, the sentence that ended everything. "If you trust me, you won't need proof."
Calm. Slightly annoyed.
Like he was explaining something obvious to someone difficult. No explanation, no receipts, no urgency, just expectation, blind loyalty. In exchange for silence. So I said the only thing that made sense. "Then the wedding is off." He laughed, not loudly, just once, because he thought I was bluffing. Then he looked at my face, and the laugh disappeared. "Grace, don't be ridiculous." "I'm not," I said. "The wedding is off." He started talking faster after that, saying I was overreacting, that I always escalated things, that there was a reason, and he would explain it later when I was in a better headspace. That phrase, better headspace, as if being upset about missing money 2 months before a wedding meant I was unstable. I didn't argue. I didn't raise my voice. I went upstairs, opened the nightstand drawer, took out the ring box, locked it in my office safe. Then I came back down, opened my laptop, and started canceling everything. Venue, postpone indefinitely. Florist, freeze all charges. Photographer, suspend contract. Caterer, do not process final balance, one by one.
Calm. Methodical.
By the end of the night, I had lost $1,250 in non-refundable deposits. I logged every dollar. Daniel stood there the entire time, watching. First shocked, then angry, then suddenly emotional. "You're humiliating me," he said. "I'm protecting myself," I replied. "You're destroying everything." "No," I said quietly. "You already did that." Around 9 o'clock, he packed a bag, said he was going to his sister Kayla's. He paused at the door, like he expected me to stop him, to chase him, to apologize. I didn't move. The second the door closed, I changed the code to the front door. Then I sat at the kitchen table, and I went through everything, transaction by transaction. By midnight, I had screenshots, timestamps, and a full timeline. By 1 a.m., I had 28 messages from Daniel. From "I can explain" to "You're ruining our lives" to "If you loved me, you would trust me." That one almost made me laugh. $8,000 gone. A hotel in another city. And somehow, love meant silence. For the first time in months, I slept, really slept. Not because things were okay, but because they were finally clear. And clarity is louder than chaos. The next morning, Daniel changed his tone. The midnight messages had been frantic, messy, almost desperate. But by breakfast, he had become controlled again, measured.
Wounded.
He sent long paragraphs about how he hadn't felt emotionally safe, explaining things because of my energy the night before. My energy. Not the missing money, not the bounced florist payment, not the hotel charge in Raleigh. Me. He said the money wasn't stolen. Some of it was for wedding-related things he had wanted to surprise me with. Some of it was complicated. Some of it involved people he wasn't ready to talk about yet. He just needed me to trust him until he could organize everything. I read the message twice, then replied once. "You have until Friday at 6 p.m. to provide a full written accounting of every withdrawal and transfer. After that, all communication happens by email only." He never sent records. He sent feelings. By noon, Kayla texted me. "Daniel is devastated. He is not manipulating you. Wedding stress makes people act strange." Then she added something that stayed with me. "Sometimes trust means not needing every detail. No, sometimes deception survives because people are trained to confuse details with cruelty." I didn't answer. I just saved the message. Friday came. No receipts. No statements. No clear explanation. Only another email saying he was trying to put everything in order, but my coldness was making it harder. That same afternoon, my doorbell camera caught Daniel and Kayla on my porch. They tried the old code twice, then stood there, whispering. When Daniel noticed the camera, he stepped back. Kayla lifted a folded note toward the lens, like she was delivering evidence in a courtroom. After they left, I opened the door. The note was on the mat. "I never lied about loving you. Don't throw us away over your pride." That wording mattered, not over what I did. Over your pride. That was when the pattern became painfully obvious. The behavior never mattered. My reaction was always the offense. That weekend, I got serious. I pulled every vendor contract, every account statement, every screenshot, every message, my mortgage paperwork, and every planning document connected to the wedding. Once it was all laid out in front of me, the chaos started looking organized, and that was exactly what Daniel couldn't survive. On Monday, I met with an attorney named Owen. It cost me $450. Worth every dollar. He told me 3 things immediately. Stop taking phone calls. Do not return the ring until the money issue is addressed. Document absolutely everything. Then he said something I wrote down as soon as I got back to my car. People who rely on emotional confusion usually get reckless when facts start organizing themselves. He was right. That afternoon, Daniel emailed asking if I had really involved a lawyer, like some stranger. An hour later, he posted a black background Instagram quote about people who demand receipts because they never learned how to trust love. Then a mutual friend, Alyssa, texted me. She said Daniel was telling people I had gone through his private messages and canceled the wedding over one work trip. One work trip. The Raleigh hotel was on a Thursday night. The airline charge was for 1 passenger. The dinner bill was for 2. The lies were already getting lazy. I sent Alyssa 1 screenshot, just the account balance and the transactions. Nothing dramatic, no commentary. She replied with 1 word. Wow. Then she never asked again. That night, Daniel's mother Denise called me. At first, she sounded angry. She said Daniel was at Kayla's, devastated. She said I had blindsided everyone. She said canceling vendors before hearing Daniel out was cruel. I let her finish. Then I said, Denise, I'm happy to send you the bank statements if Daniel hasn't shown them to you.
Silence.
Long enough for me to hear her breathing change. Then she said, send them. So I did. 20 minutes later, she called back. Her voice was different, softer. Tired. Grace, she said quietly, where did the Raleigh hotel come from? I'm waiting for Daniel to explain that too. She exhaled hard, then said, trust is not supposed to cost you this much. That was the first moment I knew I wasn't crazy. Not dramatic, not cold, not paranoid, just awake. The next day, Denise emailed me again. Daniel claimed the Raleigh charges were for vendor scouting. The airline ticket, he said, was connected to a photographer he had fronted money for because a company card failed. Even Denise admitted none of it explained the cash withdrawals, the bounced florist payment, or why he had hidden all of it. By the end of that week, I realized something that hurt more than the missing money. I wasn't grieving the wedding as much as I was grieving how long I had trained myself to ignore what was right in front of me. The upside came quietly. I started sleeping through the night. I went back to boxing, which Daniel had always complained took time away from planning. I stopped feeling dread every time my phone buzzed. At work, I was asked to lead a software rollout for 2 new clinics because, according to my director, I was the calmest person on the team when things got messy. If only he knew. Still, peace didn't arrive all at once. It came in pieces. A morning without a manipulative text. A dinner where nobody turned my questions into accusations. A quiet house that no longer felt like a stage. Then Daniel realized I wasn't coming back. And once he understood that, he stopped pretending to be wounded. He started trying to regain control. Daniel did not handle losing control well. At first, he tried subtlety. Flowers showed up at my office on Tuesday morning. A white arrangement. Clean, expensive, the kind of choice designed to look thoughtful without saying anything specific. The card read, "Trust me, one last time. D." I didn't throw them away. I photographed the arrangement, the card, the delivery receipt, and asked reception to log the time and sender. Documentation. That word had become a kind of anchor for me. 2 days earlier, Daniel had already tried showing up in person. He walked into the lobby of my office building like nothing had happened. Told security he wanted to surprise me for lunch. They turned him away before I even came downstairs. I only found out because security emailed me afterward. I saved that too. Then came LinkedIn. A man named Dylan messaged me. Said he was a friend from Daniel's college days. Said he thought I owed it to myself to hear the full story before throwing away 4 years. That phrasing again. Throwing away. Like truth was optional. Like facts were negotiable. I replied once. If he has the full story, he can send bank statements, hotel receipts, and the name of the woman he met in Raleigh. Dylan never responded. Just after midnight that same night, I received a text from an unknown number. "This is Carol from Piedmont Urgent Care. Daniel listed you as emergency contact after a car accident. Please call immediately." For half a second, Instinct kicked in. My hands actually moved toward the phone. Then something stopped me. The number was a personal cell. The wording felt off. Too clean, too rehearsed. So instead of calling back, I searched for the clinic's main line and called directly. No Daniel, no accident, no Carol. I sat there in the quiet of my kitchen, staring at the message, and something inside me didn't break. It hardened. I took screenshots, sent them to Owen. His reply came within minutes. Stop responding entirely. We're sending a cease and desist. The next morning, Daniel emailed me. He said he couldn't believe I would ignore a medical emergency. That told me everything I needed to know. It wasn't about communication. It wasn't about misunderstanding. It was about control. That same afternoon, he escalated again. He filed a police report, claimed I was withholding his personal property, a watch, a bracelet from his grandmother, a garment bag with custom attire, business materials he needed for work. 2 officers came to my townhouse that evening. I let them in calmly, showed them the guest room where I had already organized everything into labeled bins: shoes, clothes, documents, accessories. I showed them the emails I had sent offering a scheduled pickup with a neutral witness. I showed them the doorbell footage of Daniel trying the old code after he had already moved out. There was no bracelet, no wedding suit. The bridal shop still had that. No missing work materials. The officers exchanged a look I didn't miss. One of them told Daniel, on speaker, that this was a civil matter, not theft. An hour later, Daniel emailed me, accusing me of trying to make him look unstable in front of the police. I forwarded that to Owen too. And then, everything finally broke open. Not because Daniel told the truth, because Denise did. She called me late Friday afternoon. Her voice sounded different. Not angry, not defensive, just tired. She asked if she could come by Saturday morning. When I opened the door, she was holding a department store bag and an envelope. Her expression was the kind people wear when they already know the outcome of a conversation they don't want to have. We sat at the kitchen table, the same table where Daniel had once talked about wedding centerpieces like we were planning something real. She placed the bag in front of me first. Inside was Daniel's spare key, a watch he had accused me of keeping, and a few pieces of mail. Then she slid the envelope across the table. "I'm not here to ask you to forgive him," she said quietly. "I'm here because he's still trying to make you the villain, and you deserve the truth." I opened it. Printed screenshots from Daniel's old tablet. Hotel confirmation, Raleigh. 2 guests, Daniel and a woman named Vanessa.
Airline receipt.
Daniel's name. Text messages, months of them. "I miss you already. He doesn't suspect anything. 10 more weeks, and I'm free." I read that last line twice. Not because I didn't understand it, because I did. 10 more weeks. That was how long until our wedding. Denise sat across from me, her hands folded tightly together. "He told me it was stress," she said. "That you were overreacting. That everything would calm down." She swallowed. I checked his tablet while he was in the shower. Silence filled the space between us.
Heavy. Final.
I looked down at the pages again. The dates lined up perfectly. The hotel booking, the missing money, the bounced florist payment. All of it connected. This wasn't a mistake. It wasn't confusion. It wasn't poor communication. It was a system. He had funded an affair with our wedding money, while standing in this kitchen, asking me what color flowers I preferred. I looked back at Denise. "Does Kayla know?" She closed her eyes for a moment. I think she knew enough. That made sense. Everything about it made sense now. The deflection, the rehearsed language, the way every conversation somehow ended with me apologizing for asking questions. Chaos only feels overwhelming until the truth organizes it. On Monday, the cease and desist went out. Certified mail. Email. No direct contact. No third-party contact. No workplace visits. Any property exchange through legal counsel only. Daniel exploded. Kayla left a voicemail calling me cold. Alyssa texted saying Daniel was crying. that I had turned love into something legal. Dylan somehow reappeared just long enough to say Daniel admitted he had handled things badly, but not maliciously. Sure. Around that time, something unexpected started happening. My life cleaner. I rebooked the week that was supposed to be our honeymoon. Spent 3 days alone in Asheville. No schedule. No explanations. No emotional negotiations. I hiked in silence. Ate barbecue at noon. Sat on a balcony and realized something I hadn't felt in a long time. Peace is loud once manipulation leaves your life. Back at work, I started talking more to someone named Ethan. He was on the rollout team. Smart. Direct. Calm in a way that didn't feel performative. The first time he asked if I wanted coffee, I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was easy. No games, no tension, just a question with a clear answer. But Daniel wasn't done. He couldn't be, because losing control meant losing the version of the story he needed to survive. And a week later, he made that very clear. Daniel violated the cease and desist on a Thursday night. Not subtly, not accidentally.
Publicly.
I was at a wine bar in South End with 2 coworkers and Ethan. It wasn't anything serious, just a quiet evening after a long week. Conversation, a shared bottle, the kind of atmosphere where nothing feels forced. That's what I remember most. How normal it felt, until it didn't. Daniel walked in like he belonged there. No hesitation, no awareness, no shame. He was wearing the same blue shirt I once told him made him look calm. The detail hit me harder than it should have, not because I missed him, but because it reminded me how calculated he could be. He walked straight to our table. Didn't look at anyone else. Just me. Are you seriously replacing me already? He asked, loud enough for the surrounding tables to hear. Ethan didn't react immediately. He just sat back slightly, watching.
Calm. Observing.
I stood up, not quickly, not aggressively, just deliberately, and I signaled for management. No scene, no argument, just process. Daniel's expression shifted the second he realized nobody was going to play along. Not me, not the staff, not even the strangers around us. So he changed tactics. Again, his voice softened, turned emotional. You're really doing this? He said. After everything? Then he looked at Ethan. You know you're sitting in someone else's future, right? Ethan didn't respond. He didn't need to. That silence said more than anything else could have. Daniel stepped closer, too close, reached for my sleeve, and in the process, knocked over a wine glass. Red wine spilled across the table, dripping down onto the floor. That was the moment management stepped in.
Firm. Controlled.
They escorted him out. No shouting. No dramatic ending. Just removal. Ethan handed me a napkin. I realized my hands were steady.
Completely steady.
The next morning, I filed for a protective order. Not out of fear. Out of clarity. 6 weeks later, we were in court. By then, my evidence folder was heavy. Bank statements, vendor emails, the bounced florist invoice, screenshots of his messages with Vanessa, doorbell footage, the flower delivery card, the LinkedIn messages, the fake urgent care text, the police report, the cease and desist, the incident report from the wine bar, Ethan's photo of Daniel standing at our table, and Denise's written statement. Daniel arrived looking exactly how you would expect.
Clean. Controlled. Respectable.
Like none of this had ever happened. His attorney tried to soften everything. Said Daniel had been emotional after a broken engagement. Said he was seeking closure. Said there had been a misunderstanding about communication, finances, timing.
Timing.
That word almost made me smile, because timing was exactly what exposed him. Owen didn't interrupt. He just waited. Then he handed over the screenshots. The ones with timestamps. The hotel booking. The messages. 10 more weeks, and I'm free. The judge took his time reading, then looked directly at Daniel. Were the Raleigh charges related to wedding business? Yes, Daniel said, then paused, then added, Not exactly. That hesitation changed everything. The judge asked when the relationship with Vanessa began. Daniel said it was complicated, that things only became physical after we were already emotionally over. The judge asked when that was. Daniel said weeks before. Owen placed another document on the table. Timestamp. Hotel booking. Florist payment failure. Same week. Same day. Facts don't argue. They align. After that, it moved quickly. The protective order was granted. 1 year. No contact. No third-party contact. Stay 300 feet away from my home and workplace. All remaining property exchanged through legal counsel. Daniel cried as he left the courtroom. Kayla didn't look at me. Denise did. Just for a second. Her expression wasn't apologetic. It was understanding. 3 days later, Daniel posted something online. A long paragraph about emotional cruelty, about people weaponizing documentation, about how love shouldn't feel like an audit. It stayed up for 4 hours. Then it disappeared. Apparently, someone had commented asking if love usually involved charging weekend hotel stays to a wedding account. That was the end of that. Financially, I didn't get everything back. After closing the account, settling vendors, and absorbing the non-refundable costs, I was out just under $6,000.
Painful.
But still, cheaper than marrying him. Work changed quickly after that. The clinic rollout succeeded. I was promoted to senior project lead. The raise, $9,800, felt like something quiet and steady balancing the scales. Not revenge, just correction. I went back to boxing consistently, repainted the guest room Daniel had turned into a wedding storage space, donated the duplicate decor, kept the espresso machine, rebuilt my home, one honest detail at a time. Ethan and I didn't rush anything. We didn't need to. 4 months later, he was still there, still steady, still the kind of person who answered direct questions with direct answers. The first time I told him everything, he listened, didn't interrupt, didn't reinterpret, just listened. Then he said something I've kept with me ever since. Trust should make you feel steadier, not smaller. That was it. That was the lesson. Trust is not ignoring what you see because someone benefits from your silence. Trust is not pretending receipts, timelines, and instincts are signs of insecurity. Trust is not blind faith in someone who panics the second proof enters the room. Daniel wanted trust to mean access without accountability, comfort without honesty, a life with me and another one somewhere else, funded by the same money. That isn't trust, that's control, dressed up as love. Real trust survives questions. Real trust becomes clearer under light. Real trust doesn't demand blindness as proof. The moment Daniel said, "If you trust me, you won't need proof," the relationship was already over. I just hadn't said it out loud yet. Now I have.